Welcome, everyone. My name is Sarah Ray from the Bloomfield Public Library. Thank you for joining us today. I'm just going to welcome Beth Gibbs to get us started. Go ahead, Beth.
Okay, great. So welcome, everybody. And I see a couple people are still coming in. That's fine. We're going to start with a little introduction. And we're going to spend some time today learning about your 5 layers of self-awareness. And we'll be practicing a few exercises, interactive exercises designed to help get you in touch with each of them. So as you can see on the slide, the 5 layers are listed. We're just going to leave that up for a couple of minutes in case you want to write them down. There'll be more resource information towards the end where you can get more understanding and more information on this model if you are so inclined. So the first thing I want to do is define self-awareness and what are the 5 layers and how we look at them before we move into a description of each. Self-awareness, according to the way I define it, is the ability to see, understand, and accept thoughts, emotions, beliefs, habits, and behavior without judgment. So when the skill of self-awareness is actively employed, we will see our everyday reality as it is and not hidden behind a veil of wishful thinking or denial. Because many of us kind of go through, like, perception is everything, and how we perceive the world has a real effect on us. And science is discovering this, because right now I'm listening to a book called The Biology of Belief, and it's very scientific, but the bottom line is that ourselves and how we exist in the world is not predetermined. There are some ground rules or foundations or blueprints, but we have the possibility of changing them with our perception. So when we perceive ourselves and the world as it is and not hidden behind a personal veil of wishful thinking or denial, we have 3 choices for anything we face in life. 1, we can consciously choose to make a change. 2, we can remain unchanged as long as we're fully aware of the consequences of not making a change. Or 3, if no change is possible, say in the event of a terminal illness, we can somehow use our 5 layers of awareness to find acceptance and peace of mind. So once we get self-awareness, do we keep it? No, we do not. It ebbs and it flows, it shifts and it changes, but we can call on it at any time to help us be present in the moment, sense where we are. Now, like any good project, this work does require some commitment, some discipline, and some time to develop the skill of self-awareness and use it wisely. But it's good to know that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And cultivating deep self-awareness on all of our 5 layers is a lifelong journey. We start at any time. And science does recognize, so this is not just new age yoga, meditation, spiritual woo-woo. Science recognizes that our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and how we handle stress can positively or negatively affect our mental and physical health. And as I'm sure you all know, we have a serious problem with mental health in our society right now. So when did all this start? Well, scientifically, the search and the thinking about self-awareness can be traced back to 1972, when 2 psychologists, Shelley Duvall and Robert Wickland, developed their theory of self-awareness, which is, and I quote, "When we focus our attention on ourselves, we evaluate and compare our current behavior to our internal standards and values. We become self-conscious as objective evaluators of ourselves." So that's 1972. But this concept is not new, because for centuries, philosophers have really wondered and pondered about the connection between self-awareness and health, and provided us with guidelines, information, and practices for cultivating self-awareness, not just of the mind, which is one half of the somewhat familiar mind-body connection that we've heard about for the past few years, but of the whole human being. So where did this 5-layer thing come from? The first known mention of the 5 layers of self-awareness comes from, get ready, a 3,000-year-old philosophical text from India. So that's 3,000 years old, and it's probably older than that, but that's when it was first written down. So this 5-layer model of body, breath, energy, mind, intuitive wisdom, and bliss proposes, obviously, that we're much more than a mind interacting with the body. So when we understand ourselves through these 5 layers, we then have a 360-degree view of what it means to be human. And this gives us a broad foundation for exploration. And so along with that foundation comes a wide variety of practices, many of them 3,000 years old, and they are the first step to finding clarity, contentment, and resilience in a complicated world that we live in right now. So why practice self-awareness? Find better solutions for your problems, make better lifestyle choices. The big one for all of us is managing stress. Not some stresses is important, because if we didn't have some stress, we wouldn't live. But we're talking about unhelpful stress. So the one thing, the bottom line, the most practical thing when you practice self-awareness is you will manage your stress. That has been proven by research. What else? It will help you improve relationships that can be improved, and end toxic relationships that cannot be improved, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two. Okay. And will also teach you how to relax, which is very important. So we can drop that slide if you kind of got seen it, and now we'll go through an overview of each of our 5 layers, and we'll have an interactive practice for each one. So layer 1, the body. This is you, your size, shape, gender identification, health status, race and ethnicity, and class. As human beings, we're complex, right down to the smallest cell in our bodies, each with its own job to do to keep us breathing. So how do we start with this exploration of the body? Well, we kind of start with the body because that's what we're most familiar with. We wake up every morning and we've got to do something with our body, like brush our teeth, take a shower, make breakfast, give ourselves nourishment. The body's visible and familiar. And we can look at our body through 3 lenses: body sciences, optimal health, and social and cultural variables, because all 3 have a direct relationship to our self-awareness and our search for clarity, contentment, and resilience. So for body sciences, that's the body systems. And depending upon which source you look at, you might find anywhere from 7 to 10 or more body systems. But I'm just going to quickly give you an example of 3. The musculoskeletal system. So if you stand in front of a mirror and you look at your body, that image might show us or show you that one shoulder is higher than the other, or one hip is higher than the other. So that would indicate that there's a slight imbalance in your physical body. Then you would have to figure out, are these differences functional or genetic? And once you figure that out, you can take steps to either correct or accept. Immune system. Maybe you have a tendency to get frequent colds, flu, and bacterial infections, and there's a pattern. Maybe you find that when you work really hard and when you stop to go on vacation, you get sick. Okay, that's a pattern, and you can kind of figure out why is that happening, and then you can do something about it. And the big one, your digestive system, your health, your basic health of your physical body depends so much on your digestive system, how well you ingest, absorb, and release waste from what you take in. So if you have digestive upsets, you know you have an imbalance in that system. So it's finding out where our imbalances are in the body and then making conscious choices to do something about it. So optimal health, our task in working with our body is to determine, as I suggested, where those imbalances are. And optimal health is also determined by gender and sex roles, education levels, work environment and status, physical and social, race and cultural, social networks and support, personal beliefs and behavior, and genetic inheritance. But perception is everything. So it's important that we have that view of ourselves, and then we can make decisions. So to recognize and work with this aspect of the first layer is crucial, because your body is the vehicle that carries you through what some self-awareness proponents call Earth School. Links between health, longevity, well-being, and having a network of social support has been well established over the past 30 years. We know this, but moving from knowing to doing, that takes a little work. Okay. So our first interactive exercise, one of the best places I think to start when you want to begin to understand what your body is and how you relate to it, is to start with what I call a body scan. And I teach like 3 or 4 yoga classes right now, and I start every single class with the body scan. And we do that to detect sensation. Sensation is defined as a perception, an impression, a feeling in the body, maybe tingling, pulsing, maybe heaviness, firmness, tightness, ease, stretch, pain, discomfort, change of temperature, or connection with the surface. So the body speaks to us with sensation and through our 5 senses, and therefore it's an effective starting point to begin. So we're going to do this. You can keep your eyes open or you can close them. If you keep them open, just gently gaze towards the floor. If you choose, I was going to say, as you move your awareness through your body, what your job is going to be for the next minute or two is just to notice, sense, and feel any sensation that are present. And if you catch yourself judging, please stop and just notice and witness. And if you're not noticing anything, then just notice that, because that's something that you need to notice, to be aware of. Okay. So relaxing the shoulders, whatever position you've chosen, we're going to begin with the lower body. So bring your attention, your awareness to the toes, the bottoms and tops of your feet, heels, ankles. Notice what you notice. Draw your awareness into the lower legs. Notice your shins, your calves, your knees, your thighs, tops, sides, and backs. And if you are sitting in a chair, notice the connection of your body to that chair. And then bring your awareness to the pelvis, the belly, and the low back. Move your awareness slightly higher to the rib cage, solar plexus, the mid-back. Just tune in to your chest, heart, and lungs. Exploring now the upper back, area between the shoulder blades, into your neck, head, and then back down over the shoulders to the arms, to the hands, to the fingers. Allow your awareness to spread throughout your body. Collect and gather any sensations, any information that your body is sending you, looking for areas that feel open, those that may feel closed or blocked, looking for any tingling or pulsing. Very often, one of the first places we can detect pulsing or tingling is in the palms of the hands. So just notice what you have experienced by taking this short trip through your physical body. Just noticing, witness, and explore your experience. And then gently and slowly, as we begin to come out, just simply move your fingers and your toes. Good. And then I like to conclude this with a staff pose. So you're just simply going to raise your arms over your head, stretching high. And if it's comfortable, lifting your legs, stretch straight out. And if that's not possible for you for some reason, then just visualize your body in this shape in your mind. Good. Then slightly open your arms and open your legs, stretch and spread your fingers and your toes. Good. Then bring the arms and the feet together. Nice deep breath in. Exhale and lower, and then tap and shake. This is called shaking horse. and it just helps to redistribute the energy. And just notice how you feel. Sometimes a minute or two of a body scan on your own will actually shift your energy and your mood, which is good to know. So now we're going to move into layer 2, breath and energy. So we know that the oxygen we breathe nourishes our body, our brain especially, because at least 20% of every breath you take in goes here. So if you're not breathing deeply, you're starving your brain, which we don't want to do. So that's breath. Your energy is that invisible life force that animates you at all levels. And that may sound woo-woo, but remember that Albert Einstein, very famous scientist, basically said that energy can never be destroyed. It can only be transformed or changed. So it's that energy that moves through us right now. But it's not surprising that breath is the aspect of the layer that's most real to us because it's firmly rooted in our 5 sense material world. Our lungs can hold 6 liters of air. That's approximately 1.5 gallons, but most of us don't take that much oxygen into our bodies. But it's really important. If you learn nothing from the time we spent together today, understand the importance of deep, regular breathing. It's so important to the organs in your body and especially to your brain. And science and research already knows and has proven that the proper flow of oxygen is necessary to maintain optimal physical health in all of our body systems. It affects our sleep, our memory, our energy levels, and our mental focus. But fortunately, we don't have to think about that. Our body breathes for us, but when we become aware of our body, we can absolutely change our physical energy and our mental states in several ways. We can use the breath to increase our energy, enhance our brain function, lower stress, lessen fatigue. And we're going to practice a couple of those exercises today to learn an exercise for warming and energizing the body, although it is summer, so we want to take that one easy. Relax and calm when we feel stressed and tense, and balance our energy in order to manage our stress levels and focus our mind. So when we begin to work with self-awareness of the breath, we also begin to develop awareness of the other aspect, our energy, which, as we said before, flows through the body, interpenetrating all of our physical systems. Some of this energy can be scientifically measured because science does acknowledge that human energy fields exist, but it focuses its work on those fields that can be measured, EKG, ECG, that kind of thing. We take in energy with our breath, according to this model that we're talking about today. When we're in nature and we're able to build healthy habits like exercise, good food, and socializing with positive people, our energy tends to expand and we feel good. I'm sure you've you have walked into places where all of a sudden you felt because the energy in that place didn't feel right. And in other places you walk in and you're all of a sudden you're like, because the energy of the place feels good. So it's good to be tuned into at least energy on that level. That's a good way to kind of get into it. So we're going to do some interactive exercises to focus on the breath right now. The first thing we're going to do, just like we did a body scan to become aware of our breath, of our body, we're going to do a little scan to become aware of our breath. So this is just going to take a minute or two. So just kind of relax again, sitting comfortably. Gradually and slowly, place your awareness now on your breath flowing through your body. You want to notice your breath. There are 4 parts to your breath. 2 you're already familiar with, your inhale and your exhale. But what you may not be aware of is that after you inhale and before you exhale, there's this tiny slight pause. After you exhale, and before you inhale, again, there's a tiny slight pause. So we want to become aware of the full act of breathing. Your inhalation Slight pause before you exhale. Your exhalation, the slight pause before you inhale. Just let your breath come and go naturally. You're not going to try to change it in any way. You're just watching, just noticing, being aware of the 4 parts of your natural, essential breath as it breathes you. So just enjoy the ebb, the flow, the rise, the fall, the in, the out of your natural, essential breathing process. 4 parts of breathing. Basically, very important to become aware of how your inhalation feels, noticing the little pause, sensing and feeling how your exhalation feels, noticing the slight pause at the end. Just watching, noticing 4 parts of your breath. Good. And then gently begin to move your fingers and toes, tap your feet. Great. And then if your eyes were closed, you can open them, or if keeping them closed and you're able to sort of follow my voice, that's just fine. So now I'm going to show you 3 exercises that you can use at any time to shift your energy and your mood. The first is called breath of joy. So, when you inhale, generally you take one nice long, but what we're going to do here is we're going to divide your inhalation into 3 sniffs. So it would be like, okay. And then when you exhale, you're going to exhale with a right? So let's just try that once together. And if you don't want to do it, visualize it. Just go. Good. Notice if you feel buzzing at the base of your scalp. Okay, so you can either just do the breath or you can do the arm motions with it, which means, so for the first inhale sniff, you're raising your arms up, then out, then up, then ha. Okay, so we're going to do that with 3 times just so you get the hang of it. Ready? And ha, ha. And then notice how you feel. If you did the arm motions, you're probably going to feel some buzzing, probably feel a little bit more awake. This is a great thing to do first thing in the morning when you get out of bed, to sort of get enough energy so you can move into your day. Next, to calm yourself down, we do what's called relaxation breathing. And to do that, you're breathing normally. You're taking your own normal inhalation, your own normal exhalation. But before you breathe in again, you're mentally count in your head 1001, 1002. Then you breathe in, then you breathe out, count 1001, 1002, and then repeat. So you're going to practice that, hopefully. And while you're doing that simple breath exercise, which is called relaxation breathing, I'm going to tell you why it works. Number 1, the fewer breaths you take per minute calms the nervous system. So doing this exercise and holding the breath out and counting 1001, 1002 reduces the number of breaths you take per minute. Most people take between 16 to 20 breaths per minute. It's kind of high. You want to work to yourself, maybe between, if you're really good, 5, but generally 12 breaths per minute is the norm. So you want to take fewer breaths per minute. You become aware of your breathing because you have to focus on your breath to do that exercise. And it relaxes the nervous system, kind of just calms that whole thing down. So that's good to know. I'll repeat the directions again. You take a normal breath in, a normal breath out, hold the breath out, count 1001, 1002. The good part about it is if you're in a frustrating meeting or a frustrating situation, you can do this breath. Nobody knows that you're doing it, but you might need it in the moment. There have been many moments when I've used it. And just an energetic thing that goes along with that, if you choose to use it, is this little hand motion where you take your thumbs and move them across your palms, fold your fingers over, and rest your knuckles down on your lap. Notice what happens. This is called, I won't give you the Sanskrit name, but the name I use when I teach it to kids is turtle in the shell. Because what does a turtle do when it wants to feel safe? It goes in the shell. So this, you can combine this with the relaxation breath to double the effect. Okay, the third one I'm going to show you is I want you to imagine an upside down U. Okay, so you goes like this. We're going to imagine it upside down, starting on the left side of your nose, up and down on the right. And what we're going to do is imagine breath coming in the left nostril and going out the right, and then coming in the right and going out the left. This is a very simple exercise. Again, you can do this at any time. Nobody knows you're doing it. It's called psychic alternate nostril breathing. So we're just going to try that. So relaxing, shoulders relaxed. You're going to gently imagine your breath coming in your left nostril and exhaling out the right. And then imagine it coming into the right and exhaling out the left. We'll do that your own pace and speed 3 more times. Breathing into the left and out to the right. Into the right, out to the left. And on your own, 1 more time. Good. And when you've completed your 3, just shake your horse. Just bounce feet and legs. Okay. And relax. So that is our little bit about the body, a little bit about the breath. There's so much more that can be said, but we don't have time today. So now we're going to move to our third layer and hit the mind. And this is where things can get a little bit more complicated. But in considering the mind, we have to also consider the brain, because we tend to think of the mind and the brain interchangeably. They do affect one another, but there are differences that we need to understand in order to get a clear picture of how we use our mind with its thoughts, its emotions, and its beliefs, both helpful and unhelpful, to find our way to those 3 words: clarity, contentment, and resilience. And we need them in the complicated world that we find ourselves in these days. So first, just a quick note about the brain. It's a visible, tangible part of the physical body. We know this. It contains billions of nerve fibers, trillions of synapses. Scientists used to believe that the brain was fixed at birth, but now they know the brain is continually refiguring itself in response to perception, experience, learning, injury, and trauma. So this research is growing by leaps and bounds. It's called neuroscience. That means no matter how much turmoil we experience, we do have the power to make a change, to inch our way toward true healing. Healing, not fixing. Okay, some things can't be fixed, but we can always heal. And maybe you know this, brain cells are not just in our brain. New studies have found that brain cells, for instance, in our gut has more than 100 million nerve cells, which probably is a reason why when we're upset, our digestive system can get upset. The heart has 40,000 nerve cells. So the head, heart, and gut, they're communicating with each other neurologically, biochemically, biophysically, and energetically. That means where the nerves are, the brain is. During an autopsy, our brain can be seen, touched, and dissected. Now, the mind. What is the mind? Well, the mind is composed of your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, your ego, and your personality. It's how you think, what you think about, what you believe, how you experience and express your emotions. And the tasks of the mind, along with the ego, which is necessary, are to think, plan, analyze, judge, critique, and warn. They're tools to help us get correct perception and to understand what's happening within and around us. So, and this is a pet peeve of mine. If anyone tells you that the ego must be destroyed in order for you to heal, leave the conversation and ask for a refund if you paid to see that message, because the true goal is for you to become aware of the workings of your mind and your ego, to observe them, and to learn to manage them, not control them. That's another word you'll hear. Destroy the ego, control the mind. Forget destroying the ego. Forget controlling the mind. You need to learn how to manage both. And the 5 layers of self-awareness can help you with that. Bottom line, the mind is not physical. Nobody knows really what it is. During an autopsy, the mind cannot be seen, touched, or dissected. It is a mystery. I'm going to give you an example. Some beliefs are helpful and productive. Like many of us believe that a balanced diet, regular exercise, and supportive social connections will keep you healthy as you age. I know that's my belief, and I believe that if I do that without taking too many days off, without a few cheat days here and there, that it'll work for me. But some beliefs are also unhelpful. For example, I once held the belief that asking for help was a sign of weakness. I was going to do it all, okay? So I finally identified how I felt when help was offered or when I resisted it. I would feel irritated, angry, and incompetent. And I had to explore, well, why am I thinking that way? And what I came up with is that I felt that way because I didn't want to be beholden to others, and I didn't want necessarily always to have to return favors. Okay, I just wanted to be on my own to do it all. Then I had to figure out, where did that come from? Well, it came from something I saw and witnessed as a child. The women in my family did that. So I had to change my perception. Once I changed my perception, I was able to work with that. So we may come back to that a little bit later, but it's important to understand what you believe and whether or not what you believe is helpful or unhelpful. So to practice that, we do an interactive exercise just called watching the mind space. So you can do this. You are in charge of your experience. So we're just going to take about a minute, and you can keep your eyes open or closed. And you're first going to become aware of your thoughts as they flow through the mind space. I'm just giving you this little guidance to maybe what you see. Notice if the thoughts flow in bunches, or if you get one thought at a time. So you're trying to watch your mind without being caught up in any one thought. Can you see each of your thoughts as a puffy cloud in a clear blue sky, just rising and passing? So you're practicing detachment and you're watching. And what you want to notice, are there images, memories, problems? And how would you categorize them? Do they rest mostly in the past, in the present? Are you projecting into what happens in the future? Just kind of notice what's going through your mind without, and again, just like you did with the body, no judging, just watching. And as those thoughts, images, memories float through, you want to ask yourself, is this helpful or unhelpful? Maybe you could pick one. Try picking one rather than trying to label them all. Pick one thought. Is it helpful or not helpful? Is it a memory, or is it something that's happening now, or something you expect to happen? Are you analyzing a problem? As you go through this quick exercise, just notice that you do have the ability to watch the mind without becoming entangled in what you find. That is the essence of meditation. So when people say, I can't meditate because I can't control my thoughts, of course you can't. The goal is to watch what's going on in the mind space without becoming involved in it. So you just go through and label this, and then you can figure out what you want to do. Okay. So now we're going to come to layer 4, our intuitive wisdom, which is also called the witness. And by the way, you have been using this through each exercise we've done as we've gone through the layers. So the witness, the intuitive wisdom, is the ability to observe all 5 layers and your life without judgment, and then use what you find to consciously take one of those choices, making a change, keeping things the way they are, but being acceptable and aware of the consequences, or finding peace of mind if change is not possible. So the answer to that famous question, can I get a witness, is that you already have one. And we've been working with it since 12 o'clock, since we got started. The self-awareness at the level of the witness helps us to recognize, celebrate, and share our creativity and talents, in addition to understanding where our unhelpful beliefs came from and why they might still be driving us, so that we can change our perception. Now we'll have slide 2, because there's a relationship between the witness and the mind that some people, because it can be complicated. That's what I was saying. So to visualize how these two parts of your layers work together, you want to visualize 2 circles that you can see. And you see they overlap for a portion of their circumference. It's a Venn diagram. One circle is the mind, the other circle is the witness. And here's an example that will help you understand how layered and interrelated they are and how they work together. So a core belief that I'm not good enough, which many of us have, unfortunately, but it can exist both in the mind circle and in the witness circle, but at different levels of awareness. And that's the key. In the mind circle, I'm not good enough might be believed and expressed through depression, anxiety, addictions, and other self-sabotaging behavior. But in the witness circle, I'm not good enough might be recognized, seen, and sourced as messages from other people, unworthiness from family, friends, and society at large for any number of reasons, such race, gender identification, class, physical or mental ability. But, and this is the key, the witness, seeing where it comes from and knowing that the core belief of I'm not good enough cannot ever be true, does its best to send that message to the mind through the overlapping space that the 2 layers share. And when the mind opens to receive that message, that's when you get one of Oprah Winfrey's famous aha moments of total understanding, to be able to acknowledge that, oh, now I understand why I'm feeling that I'm not good enough. And I will need to examine this, and perhaps I can make a conscious choice to change how I'm feeling about me, or I can keep the status quo knowing what the consequences are and how they're going to affect me, because that's something you can pretty much change. So waking the witness and using your intuitive wisdom helps you navigate life, especially important when you're facing tough times, such as dealing with a trauma, a chronic or terminal illness, or facing the loss of an important relationship, or dealing with the results of a global pandemic or an absolutely crazy political situation. So what engaging your witness allows you to do, instead of reacting to something that you're facing, because sometimes the reaction is instantaneous, not thought out, and not necessarily helpful, engaging the witness can help you respond, meaning that there's that moment between a stimulus and whether you react or respond. Something happens without thinking, you can react, which may not be helpful, or something happens, there's that pause. You bring up the witness and you say, what's in my best interest? And then you respond. Very important. So I use a little process of, I call face it, trace it, embrace it, replace it. Here's how that works. First, you acknowledge the truth of whatever you're believing that might be unhelpful. You have to acknowledge, this is something I believe. Then you trace it. Well, where did that belief come from? Why am I believing this about myself? Then you kind of trace it back. So that thing about not asking for help, as I mentioned, I traced it back to watching the women in my family do everything. So once I had traced it, I had to embrace it that, oh, okay, this is a current reality. And then I have to replace it. So I have to replace that belief. And what I use is I call it positive resolve. Some people call them affirmations, but that sounds a bit woo-woo and just a little too, I don't know, woo-woo, new agey for me. And I know that may sound strange from someone who practices yoga, has a lucky number, uses aromatherapy to shift moods and freshen my laundry, but I acknowledge my quirks. So how do you use a positive resolve? A positive resolve is a short statement. It's set in the present tense, and it's meant to work on a self-awareness goal, and its focus is long-term. So I'm going to share some that I used to deal with that asking for help is a sign of weakness. So that was my unhelpful belief. Asking for help is a sign of weakness. My positive resolve, I ask for help when I need it. I'm still working on that, but I'm working on it. Then the other unhelpful belief was, I can do it all by myself. Bring home the bacon, fry it up in the pan, et cetera, et cetera. My positive resolve, I accept help when it is offered. I'm working on that one too, because I'm a recovering perfectionist. Many of us are. So we deal with it. So if you find that you have an unhelpful belief that is gumming up the works in your life, face it, acknowledge that it's there and that it's not helping you. Trace it, see if you can figure out where it came from. Embrace it. Yeah, it's real. And then I need to do something about it. And then replace it with a positive resolve. Okay, so that's just a little hint for you. And this practice has many benefits. You can use it. We will come back to this. If we have time, we'll come back and do a little bit more with it, but we'll see. Okay, so we're going to do a real quick little thing, a little witness practice. So you're just going to sit comfortably in your chair. This is a mental practice. If you feel triggered as I go through this, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, then just stop. So this is a way to help you wake your witness and understand that you are not everything that you are. You're more than that. So with your eyes open or closed, you're going to visualize a shelf. It can be made out of anything. And as we go through this quick visualization, you're going to place everything in your life that changes, and that's the key word, that changes on that shelf. And at the end, you can take back everything but your attitude, because some of them, your attitude about some of them may change. So as you're thinking about that shelf, place on the shelf an image of your purse, your wallet, your cell phone, symbolically everything connected with your identity, your name, address, driver's license, health insurance, credit cards, phone number, email, contact list, apps. Noticing that everything that is connected to your identity can be put on the shelf, but you're still here. Now place on the shelf an image of your friends and your family. You're taking a little vacation from them. You will return at the end of the practice. Notice that although they may be dear to you or not, you are still independent of them. Now place on that shelf all of your life experiences up to this point, the good, the bad, the beautiful and the ugly, joys and sorrows. Notice too that the way you perceive these experiences may be very different from the way you originally perceived them when they happened, but you are independent. Finally, place an image of your body on the shelf. Take a look at yourself from the outside. Observe with compassion and without judgment everything you see. Notice that even your body can be there for you to observe, but you are still independent. Now see if you can catch and notice who is observing everything on that shelf. Try to place that observer on the shelf, and you will notice the observer cannot be placed in space and time like everything else. The observer, the witness, your intuitive wisdom, sticks like glue. No matter how hard you try to put it on the shelf, it remains the center of yourself, much nearer to you than your physical body and all those items that you put on the shelf. This consciousness, this wisdom is eternal. It does not depend on interactions with any of the objects on the shelf. It watches, it notices, it's full and complete and whole. Just allow this sense of wholeness now to expand through your entire being in a way that feels comfortable. This is your true nature. Get to know it. And then everything you put on the shelf, now we're going to take back your identity, your friends, your family, your life experiences. But now perhaps you have a new perception that you may have gained by using your witness to observe. So slowly begin to move the fingers and toes, stretch yourself in any way that is comfortable. And just notice if this is very short. Usually this takes much longer, but just notice if anything has changed, if anything feels different, or if there's any change you would like to make to bring your life into a more alignment with the sense of the witness or the wholeness. And if you do this practice later on your own, you can then journal or write about it if you wish. Okay. Now this brings us to we can take that slide down. Slide 2 can go down. This is our last layer is bliss. And this is a connection to something larger than ourselves. What is it? It can be spiritual, it can be religious, it can be a deep connection to a healthy passion or to the material world. It's both the journey and the goal. And we can encourage this state, but we don't control its appearance or its experience. It's tricky work. So I'm going to give you an example of what that can feel like. When I was 12 years old, I was on vacation with my family. We were hiking up a mountain. I'd never hiked up a mountain before. I was not a happy camper. It was hard going, and the hill was steep. I was not a happy camper. I was 12-year-old preteen. The hormones were raging. But when I got to the top of the mountain and I saw the vistas, I was like, I disappeared. I mean, my whole sense of who I was, my little 12-year-old self, my ego, gone. And I don't know how long that lasted. And I only knew I was in it when I came back to myself. So if you have a hobby, like if you're a serious gardener, you can lose yourself in gardening. If you're a quilter or a needle pointer, you've probably had the experience where you've just totally lost yourself. And all of a sudden you look at the clock and you go, oh my God, it's been an hour. What happened? You were experiencing bliss. So, as I said, we don't stay in this state, but when we experience it, we know that. And maybe the question then is, what do we do after we come back to ourselves? Well, there is an old saying. It's a Zen proverb. It says, before enlightenment, and you can change the word, you can put bliss in there. Chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment or bliss, chop wood, carry water. In other words, nothing may have changed in your life except your perception. And that's the important, very, very important piece. Okay. So I think I'm going to stop here and see if there are any questions or comments that anyone would like to make.